The dam's 5 feet. It's, so they built, you can stand at the bottom of it, and it's like it's 5 feet tall. It has. Oh, I can tell you where the water, yes,
Is Jacob or Jacob? Okay. Okay, call this public hearing open. Proposed development overlay zone, applicant Cassie Engineering and Consulting, owner Rich Bailey, location 34759 Sykes Road. I'm going to turn it over to our assistant planner, Jenny Dishmo.
All right, so I have this script to go through. So this is a legislative land use hearing. The subject of this hearing is amendments to the St. Helens Community Development Code. The applicant is Cassie Engineering and Consulting. Because legislative procedures require the observance of procedural formalities, the council must take a few moments to cover some preliminary matters and required statements. Does any member of the council wish to declare a conflict of interest or bias in this matter? Hearing none. Does anyone from the audience want to object to the ability of a counselor to make a fair decision? Rules for the conduct of the hearing are set forth on the handout in the back of the room. Generally, the order of proceedings are as follows. Required statements, staff report, applicant's presentation, those in favor, those opposed, rebuttal, close of the hearing, close of the record, deliberations, and decision. The following statements are to be made at the commencement of the hearing. The standard for a decision by the council shall be based upon St. Helens Municipal Code 1720-120 standards for legislative decision and St. Helens Municipal Code 17148060 plan development allowed and disallowed. All testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed toward the applicable standards previously listed or other criteria in the code or plan which the person believes applies to the decision. Okay, so now we can go over the staff report. So the proposal tonight is for a plan development overlay zone, and the property in question is located off of Sykes Road. It's made up of two parcels. They're listed on R7 zoning district, so that's moderate residential. One of the parcels has a single family dwelling and then the other is vacant. The total acreage of the two parcels is just over 4.5 acres. The site is sloped to the south, and there is a type 2 significant wetland encumbering the southern portion of the site. And that's one of the reasons for this overlay zone. So I want to just talk in general about what an overlay zone is, because it's been over 10 years since the city has approved one from start to finish. And so that means even Jacob hasn't seen an application for an overlay zone from start to finish. A good example of one that you may be familiar with is the waterfront overlay district that was formed on the Veneer site back when we didn't own the property. So it's also worth noting that this overlay zone is associated with a subdivision proposal that the Planning Commission is going to see next week. The council will not see the subdivision proposals. Usually it just goes to the Planning Commission and is approved by them. However, the applicant is also applying for a development agreement, which you will see. So the development agreement and subdivision will be discussed next week during the Planning Commission, and then the development agreement will come back to you in the future. And you can learn more about what a development agreement is at that point too, because that's also something new that have not gone through in the near future or near past. Mm-hmm. So back to the property. So the wetland to the south is the main reason that they are wanting to utilize an overlay zone. So an overlay zone does not change the underlying zoning of the property. It remains R7. The overlay zone also doesn't change the allowed uses or the density calculations. So they're not allowed an increased amount of density because of the overlay zone. they still have to comply with R7 zoning. What it does allow is for some flexibility. And because of the wetland and other encumbrances on the property, for example, they also have a BPA easement that runs through the northern half of the property, not half, but the northern section of the property. The overlay zone allows some flexibility in lot size, lot dimension standards, and setbacks. So, as you can see on the zoning map, it's surrounded by R7. There's some unincorporated property to the north, and then some R10 property to the north as well. So I have a handout here that's actually from the subdivision staff report, and it lists the flexibility options that the planned development overlay allows, and then what the applicant is actually proposing to utilize. I think it's just helpful to think about the purpose of approving this overlay zone and why the applicant is pursuing it. So on the handout, the left-hand side is the standard, and then the R7 zoning districts, the next column, and then whether or not the plan development overlay allows for flexibility. And you can see yes is mostly checked there. And then the proposed standard is the last column. And the next few handouts in the staff report, one is the wetland delineation, which has been concurred with DSL. And if you could scroll to that, Kathy. It should be keep going. Up or down? Down. Yeah. You're almost there. That's the delineation. It's not flipped, but you can see that how large of the property is taken up by the wetland, and that's part of the reason why they need this flexibility in order to develop the property. And then the next. So if you don't have any questions specifically about the goal criteria in the staff report, the one condition that we recommend approval is that in order to utilize the plan development overlay, both lots need to be included. And that's just because the minimum requirement for a plan development overlay is 2 acres. And so so we could approve this, and then the owner could change, and maybe they don't want to utilize the overlay zone, but if they do, they need to develop them together. So it's a pretty simple condition. I think it makes sense, but other than that, the Planning Commission recommended approval. I will say that a lot of people showed up to testify at the previous Planning Commission, which recommended approval of this, but most of the testimony revolved around stormwater concerns and making sure that the applicant wasn't going to develop on the wetland and impact them negatively. But a lot of that testimony was more geared towards the subdivision proposal, which actually looks at stormwater systems of the subdivision and addresses stormwater concerns. So all of their concerns would be addressed at the time of development and the subdivision, not necessarily with the overlay zone. So we just told them to come back next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you can go ahead and do the process of opening it up for everything you talked about, the in favor of.
Yeah. So we ready for the applicant's testimony?
I think so.
Okay, cool. And then Rich is here.
You guys stuck with a builder, not an engineer. So it's spring break, and he's from Vancouver, so he's with his kids this week. My name's Rich Bailey Construction, 32740 Woods Drive, Warren, Oregon. I'm a new resident of Warren, so I have to remember those dates, those addresses now. What got me to this point, as you all know, land is drying up around St. Helens. As a builder, a local person, I need to protect my business and future, so I started looking for some place to build some homes. the wetland got a little bigger than when I first looked at it, and for us to get enough homes in the site to help pay for it, we had to work around the wetland. It's Oregon when it's not flat, and yes, I wish it was, and we didn't have to deal with that, but that's why we're going for this. The lot sizes are they have to be adjusted to go around this wetland as we go, and that's, from my understanding, they've been working with the city trying to get the best design that we could get, and use the property the best we could, and no, we're not building in the wetland. So I'm open for questions, but I just don't know how. I'm not an engineer. I just know what we've gone through to get to that point. And yes, I know it's an odd thing to be doing. You haven't had to do one in 10 years.
Yeah.
So that's why I did it. I want you guys all think a little bit.
I think you obtained this property because it kind of looks like Florida. Not bad. Not bad.
It's not bad. No, it's going to be a nice neighborhood.
Do you have to honor the wetland by setbacks and by improvements on the upland area, or do you have problems with it at all with the wetland?
No, just that the city makes us take more property than what the federal and the state did. So yes, it expanded quite a bit with the 50-foot buffer the city required.
Right, okay.
So that's why it got more, is because you guys have a larger setback than what the federals and the state would.
What is the state requirement on that? Just curious.
If I remember right, it's 30 feet and you're at 50 feet.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah.
Was that city or county?
City.
city. And then the state is 30. And the federal is 30. So you guys are 20 feet larger. You're protecting it by 20 more feet. So. And we have water in Oregon, so that's all. That's the reason we had to go about that. It's just it was all flat, no water in it. Yes, we would be dealing with this. We'd have a road going down through there, and it'd be split up like it normally is. But that doesn't work. So. Okay.
So how did you come up with the unique idea of the overlay? I mean, was it something that city staff kind of helped out? Did you guys come up with?
It's been quite a process. It's been going on for a while now. I hired Mr. Kessie, and we met with the city, and we just, with how to work around this wetland. And Jacob is very knowledgeable.
Yes, he is.
And he helped us a lot understand the process, and it is quite a process. So, but the staff has been very helpful. But and Mr. Kessie has been in more contact with them than I am, because they understand the lingo. Like I said, I put wood up, So, and like I said, I'm just trying to get some houses, some dirt, and there's just very little dirt left in St. Helens. So you're probably going to see more of these as time goes on.
Yeah, and that's kind of an infill area, it looks like.
It's an infill, and then there's some more beyond us. It will probably sooner or later one of these days be something else out there.
Yeah.
How many lots do you think you're going to get in there?
So what we have is there's 18 total, but some come off Sykes Road, some come in off Westboro Road up there. So it's not a through road; it's a cul-de-sac.
Oh.
So some will be coming off Sykes. And that's counting the existing home.
So you're going to use that westbound, Westboro way?
Yes.
Up on top,
Yeah. So and then they have us putting that road. They have us leaving an access to the next property on.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funky because it really can't go anywhere at this point, because you got part of that's not in the city, but they're having us address for it down the road anyway. Yeah. So our road will go. We cul-de-sac. You'll go in, come down cul-de-sac going south, but the actual Westboro will continue across the top of it. So that'll be in also.
Is there room there to put in some houses between the wetland and Sykes Road?
So coming in off Sykes Road, you will have where the old existing house is, and I believe there's 3 lots down there. There's a road down there that'll access those homes. So not all the houses will go out the top. So they'll just be the lower ones will go to Sykes Road, and then the upper ones will go out Westboro.
But there's that one little skinny place there would be the east corner. It's pretty narrow. Is there enough room for a house in that or not?
I think of what you're talking
That
about.
one little corner up there. The front Sykes Road?
No, that'll be green space of
Oh,
some
okay.
sort, yeah, and we have all the city improvements put along there
Yeah.
anyway, so by the time you get down to that, there won't be anything there.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Any other questions for Rich? Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Straightforward.
Is there anyone else in favor of the application that would like to testify? Is there anyone in neutral? Anyone in opposition?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. If you want to testify, you have to go up, say your
Yeah,
address.
you have to come up and at least
state
say your name and address and say that you're in favor of at least.
So, Don, this is Jenny Maywald. We own the property directly to the north. We've looked at what he's proposing there, and it looks pretty reasonable from what we've seen. Honestly, I feel for him with how large that wetlands area has turned out to be, because I kind of, I kind of see that as being a little bit greater than what it should have been myself, but I'm not the expert in that area. So, but for my wife and I, at least we see it as being a reasonable development for that area, and don't see why should be any issues.
We're in Oregon this time of year. Everything's a wetland, right?
Yeah, to some extent, yeah, to some extent. But that area in particular, since we've lived there, it really surprised me how big of an area that they're saying is a wetland, because it's hard to see that when you actually walk the property. It really is. So
Well, when you add that 50-foot buffer, it really adds.
that's really it's a
Yeah.
50-foot buffer. Yeah, that's a lot. So anyhow, that's what. So as far as me and my wife, we just wanted to, put our 2 cents in, I guess. So.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, you're in
Thank you for
favor of it?
speaking up.
Anyone else want to testify? Yeah, if you wouldn't mind coming up to state your name.
I just have a question. My name is Hannah Stewart. I live 59887 West Hill Road. My question is just exactly like, how is this property going to benefit, like, St. Helens? Pretty much is just my question on that, and how is it negatively going to affect the wetlands area? I don't know. It's just my question too.
We need housing desperately.
So, and
I'm just
so the cities went above and beyond the state, and we put a 50-foot buffer on wetlands, and state only requires a 30. And we do need housing, and this is a kind of an infill area, which would, if we didn't have somebody like Rich or Cassie come along, would just sit, and the wetlands are still going to be there, so the frogs and whatever are still going to be able to play. Deer are going to be able to come through like they always do. They always seem to find a way. Everybody, that's the biggest thing we hear is people are upset about the animals that live on the
I don't
property.
know enough about the wetlands to
don't-
be concerned.
Well, and the funny thing is that I tell them that, well, I remember when deer were playing on where do you live? I remember, because I've lived here all my life, I remember when deer used to be roaming that property before it was developed. So, so it'll be beneficial because he's going to take and put some, he's an excellent builder. He's got a reputation, and they're going to be quality homes.
That was just my question. I don't know enough about the.
Quality of life issues. And so we're raising the bar a bit for quality of life and housing. And so I agree with the mayor, because I know what Rich Bailey homes are going to be like, and I think it's going to be a benefit to our community, huge benefit. Not only that, to our city revenues as well. So the tax base goes up, and we're able to afford parks, and yeah, everything that tax base goes to in terms of quality of life.
And
So
right.
parks, library, police,
Right.
everything.
And I'm sorry, it's super hard to see. I'm like really bad at seeing. This is located how far up Sykes? This is
what is that? Yeah. Just past
That's
bar.
quite a ways up.
That's like 10 blocks from
Yep.
the Four Corners there, isn't it? At least, something like that?
Okay.
Yeah, there's just one solo house there. Yeah,
So this is separate from like the Pittsburgh development, like off Pittsburgh.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. This is ways away from that one. Yep.
I'm all good. I just had a question.
Tell Keith Newsom we said hi. Are you?
Yeah.
Are you here on his record?
I will. I am here
Okay.
for him.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you for
Give her
commenting.
enough information to finish your report, all right.
Would anyone else like to speak? Okay. Are there any other questions of staff? All right. We can, this matter is returned to the table for deliberate, or I guess we can close the public hearing.
Yes.
Deliberate once the meeting starts. So.
Yep.
Yep.
The public hearing's closed. So now you can stick around and we actually discuss everything we heard, probably about 7:10, and deliberate and make a decision.